Another week in the books.
Close it.
Back at it.
Let's start out with the. It's not the granddaddy of them all, but it's similar, I would say, in the Big Ten. Penn State against Ohio State.
Snooze fest.
Where do we want to start? Do we want to talk about this Penn State offense and how awful they look?
I feel like we should talk about the winning team first.
That's fine.
All right, let's talk about Ohio State. Are they number 3 worthy in the country?
No.
Because what I saw was Marvin Harrison Jr. and nobody else on offense.
That man
defense played well.
Defense balled.
But Maserati Marv.
Wait, what is that? What they call him?
That's what Gus was calling him. Maserati Marv.
I must have missed that.
You were in Miami.
No, I watched the game.
Okay.
I actually watched the game with a Penn State alumnus who played for James Franklin.
He must have been pissed.
Yeah, he was quite upset. Yes, and he agreed. And we'll come back to that.
But yeah, Maserati Marv went nuts on him. I'm still not impressed with this Ohio State team. I don't think they should be number 3 in the country. It's essentially one guy and nobody else. Defense played well, and this Penn State team, who they're not who we thought they were.
Okay.
I'm not gonna say that they're not who we thought they were. We said that they had a really, really good defense. We never talked about their offense last week. I don't think.
No.
I feel like Breeze, you've mentioned this offense several times on this show until they actually played somebody.
So I mentioned the running backs, which the running backs have been very underwhelming. That's putting it lightly, man. Like they have been so disappointing this season. That left tackle who was coming into the season getting top 10 pick projections, that is going down the toilet every Saturday. And then Drew Allar, Penn State, the words out of Penn State was that Drew Allar was supposed to come in and take that next step, right? He was supposed to be, because they've had Sean Clifford, they had Trace McSorley, and they were limited, right? Those guys were limited what they could do. Drew Allar was supposed to be a step above those guys, and he is a step below.
Yeah.
So that was the story on Penn State in their offense, and that's what I have been talking about. But talking about Ohio State, I don't think we're giving the defense enough credit. I think we all came into the season expecting this to be one of the most electric offenses, me included. I think they still, from a talent perspective, have one of the better wide receiver groups in the room. I don't think Kyle McCord is all that great. But
I said this a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, no, I mean he had to prove it this year. We've never seen Kyle McCord as a starting quarterback at Ohio State. But that receiving core is really, really good. Their running backs have been banged up. Mayan Williams, I think, returned this week, and he had an okay game. He went for 62 yards. But that defense is that good, and that defense will keep them in almost any game they're playing. And Marvin Harrison he's a generational talent, man.
Yeah,
that kid is just nasty good. So, I mean, I'm not going to take anything off of them, right? And as far as resumes go, they've beat everybody they've played. They've beat, now 2, if we care about rankings, and y'all know how I feel about rankings, they've now beat 2 top 10 teams. So
Notre Dame and
Penn State.
So you can't say that they haven't beat nobody because these are quote unquote somebodies.
I guess it's the way you beat teams too in college football, and I don't think it's been convincing. The Notre Dame game came down to the final couple plays. This game was a 1-score game, so I don't think they've been impressive from, like, you look at Michigan and you see how Michigan is just dominating people. Like that Michigan State game, which we're not going to talk about because they just dominated that game. But that's a rivalry game, and it wasn't even close. But they're in dogfights seemingly every week, and then some games they pull away in the third, or it comes down to the fourth quarter. So they're not showing me enough to be a top 3 team.
But let me ask you this: aside from the 2 top 10 teams that they've played, who else has hung with them for 4 quarters?
For 4 quarters. Nobody, but you've seen Maryland. Maryland for 3.
Maryland was right there with them for about 3 quarters.
I said for 4 because it's a 4-quarter game, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
and I'm gonna do what I always say that you guys do, right? When I'm bringing Florida State, you guys have said that Florida State has not played.
Away from it.
I know,
yeah. But
you guys have said that Florida State has not played a complete game, and yet and still, what keeps happening? You keep pulling away from folks, right? I can't come back and be like, well, they hung with you for 3. It doesn't matter because it's a 4-quarter game.
Right.
So I can't. So same way you can't knock Florida State for that, or I don't. knock Florida State for that because at some point, talent disparity shows itself.
But it's funny you bring up Florida State though. Like then you shouldn't jump Florida State if you're pretty much doing the same thing.
But you haven't played in theory, the caliber of teams that they've played. They beat 2 top 10. I'm going to continue to air quotes.
And we beat 1.
You guys beat 1.
Who has the best offense in the country, by the way?
No, they do not.
LSU?
No, the best offense in the country?
Yes.
Since when?
Statistically.
They have the best offense in the country. Look
When did
it
they
up.
pass Washington? Because did I die? Now I know Washington had a
Look it
rough
up.
week.
Look
They
it up.
passed Washington.
Yes,
I
look it up.
will look that up. Air quotes. They beat 2 top 10 teams, and no other team can say they've done that. So it's hard for me to be like, well, drop them. Well, why? They beat everybody that's been in front of them. The teams that they should blow out, they've blown them out, even if it takes, 50 minutes as opposed to 20 minutes to do it. They have done it. So I can't knock them for doing everything they're supposed to do. And if they beat 2 top 10 teams, then yeah, they should be at 3. Who's done more?
Okay. Fair enough.
And y'all know I hate the Suckeyes. So it's not that I cap for this team. Y'all know I hate him, and I can't wait for them to lose. I was cheering for Penn State, let's be clear.
We all were.
I mean, we're giving points to that defense, and they won.
Let's talk about Penn State's coach, James Franklin. He's now 1-9 against Ohio State, 3-6 against Michigan, and 3-16 against top 10 teams.
Question. Those top 10 teams, how many of them were Michigan or Ohio State? Because I feel like we're doubling down on the Ohio State and Michigan.
Could be half of them.
I feel like it's probably like 80%
But I'm saying
of
it's
them.
still a losing record against the teams that you're supposed to you want to compete with. You go to Penn State to play against those teams, and those are your marquee games, and he's not winning in those marquee games. He's been there for how many seasons now?
7?
I was going to say the same thing.
7
Something like that.
seasons, and you haven't shown anything from a Big Ten championship to playoff, a major bowl game. Do you think it's time for them to move on from James Franklin? This is part of Chai's question, by the way.
I feel like he's getting paid to be the 3rd best team in that conference consistently.
So you think he should just put out a good product because it's Penn State, but don't expect to win championships?
Kind of. I mean, isn't that the tradition of Penn State? I think, Breeze, you just asked that. Like, when's the last time Penn State actually won?
Joe Pa?
And I think it was like the 80s. So
None of us.
But so again, it was always just this standard of consistency with Penn State. They're always a good consistent team. They're going to pump out some NFL talent. You got some good linebackers, some running backs, yada yada yada. But when are they ever in the hunt?
Right.
They're going to get beat by Michigan, or they're going to get beat by Ohio State. That's kind of what or it's going to be a good game. That was a snooze fest on Saturday, but the score's like, oh man, they hung in there. It was a 1-score game coming into the 4th quarter. They hung in there.
Shout out to Manny Diaz, by the way.
And listen,
good defensive coordinator.
and if their quarterback wasn't Cheeks, you might have had a shot.
Right.
But that's consistently who they are. So again, I think Bree said this a while ago. If you want to be a wide receiver, why are you going to Penn State? I'm going to Ohio State.
Right.
For what? Right? If I'm going to be a quarterback, maybe now I go to Michigan.
Right.
They got the quarterback whisperer. Why am I going to Penn State?
Right.
Unless you get some in-state talent that just wants to stay here and maybe build the brand up again or whatever. Cool, but you're not beating Ohio State or Michigan anytime soon.
I just don't think they have the.
So do we fire him or
No.
Fire him and go get who? It's always my question. Who else is going to guarantee you double digit 9, 10 wins, 9 to 11 wins virtually every year?
Okay, so we're okay with putting out a good product and not embarrassing ourselves.
I'm watching that, and they hung in with the number 3 team in the country.
You're losing. You're still losing.
As long as I'm not getting thrashed, if I'm competitive, then I think that I'm okay with him. Because maybe it just takes that one generational talent. We've seen it with Cam Newton. Maybe get that one Cam Newton, that one guy.
Yeah.
That's all it takes in college football.
But when the guys in your conference are outplaying you on a year-to-year basis, sometimes administration don't want to wait for that. They're anxious to get to where Michigan is, to get to where Ohio State is.
I think Penn State should be happy they're in the position they're in. And it's going to sound weird because, they are consistently 3rd, but you went from a generational coach into another coach who has held up consistency. That's really hard to do. Most programs can't do that.
Yeah.
Coming from a program that has been in the coaching carousel for decades, you went from your winningest and Hall of Fame coach to another coach who is banking you double-digit wins. Was there a gap in between?
And honestly,
wait, there had to be a gap. Who's in between Joe and Franklin?
I know there was a guy. I don't know who it was, but I mean,
O'Brien. He went to the Texans, right?
Oh, Bill
O'Brien.
Bill O'Brien. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Was he?
But even still, the fact that Franklin has rebuilt that brand, because that thing was tarnished for a while. Everything that their icon had built,
the Sandusky
was gone.
Thing. Yeah.
They had to bring that back, and now all of a sudden you see Penn State again. It's like, oh, okay, hey, forget about that. Look at this, because we're winning again. We're Penn State again.
Also, put it in context, right? And I think we've probably always, all three of us have probably heard this theoretical question: Would you choose perennial 10-win seasons or one championship for the rest of your life?
Perennial 10-win seasons.
See what I'm saying? And that's where they're at.
I'm a Cubs fan, so I'm taking that win.
But that's for the rest of your life?
But that's essentially where they are, right? You're always there, right? You're always very, very close to it. Or you get that one chip and you know you're never going to get another one.
I can see that. You could only have one champion.
And to be fair, think about where college football is now going, to where what if they do lose as number 7? Now they drop to maybe 10 or 11. Next year, you're still in the playoffs.
Yeah.
All right.
So,
and then with college, there's so many other games that are like the Rose Bowl. There's different bowl games that mean a lot, So,
and they're always in those. They've been in the Rose Bowl like every other year.
The other bowl, yeah.
All right. This another part of the question. He asked about Lincoln Riley as well. USC fell to Utah 34-32. Caleb didn't throw a touchdown.
I'm about to say, I felt like you were waiting on this all week.
I have a thing to say about Caleb, but I'll wait.
No, go ahead.
I think he's overrated.
Interesting.
I really think he's overrated.
Okay.
When he plays against top level competition, and he has the weapons on the outside, he's kind of a shell of himself. He's a super talented guy, but I think he tries to do too much in those kind of games. And I think that his style of play may not work in the NFL. I think he's a really good quarterback. He'll still go number 1, but I think the hype that he's getting from the nation and everybody, all these scouts and things like that, I think it's a little bit too much. He's a really good quarterback, but I don't think he's generational, which is okay. And we just had the discussion off air about your guy from Buffalo,
Josh Allen.
Josh Allen. I think he could be a Josh Allen type of guy where he's got all the measurables. He'll be top 5 in the league, maybe top 7, but he's not Pat Mahomes. And I think they're looking at him as the next Pat Mahomes.
Interesting.
Very.
You want to?
I mean, in all honesty, I'll be the first person. I think I've tried to make this argument with you guys before that, in the moment, in a vacuum, you always look at, the shiny new toy or whatever. It's kind of, he is that shiny new toy. He was last year's Heisman winner.
Yeah.
So it's hard to not look at him and say, oh, well, that guy's really good.
Right.
I don't know what he's going to be in the league. Right. Which is to my point where I said, the Bears can suck. Go ahead and draft Caleb. I don't know what he's going to be.
Yeah.
He could be great.
Be Ryan Leaf.
He could be Ryan Leaf, or he could be Tom Brady. I really don't know. So in the moment, I still see him as a really good college quarterback. I think that he does try to do everything he can do, because I think at the beginning of the season, I said that that's going to be USC's defense. Caleb has to go out there and score 40 a game because they're going to give up 41. I do think that he presses a lot. Yeah, I do.
He tries to win every play.
He has to, because if he gives the ball back, who knows?
Right.
That literally is what happened in this game. I mean, I know when you look at USC, you're gonna, and they lose a game, you're gonna look at Lincoln Riley, you're gonna look at Caleb.
Right.
They still put up 32 points. It's not like they scored 10 points.
And Caleb didn't throw a touchdown.
He didn't throw a touchdown, but Zach Branch got a 1-yard run in that easily could have been a Caleb Williams throw on a slant, or a Caleb Williams walking to the end zone. Caleb did score running, so that would have been 2 touchdowns. And then Marshawn Lloyd hit for one. They had a punt return that went for a touchdown. So I think I agree with Pump. I think he realizes that he has to be Superman every week. Every single week he has to be Superman, which is a lot. And, you know, ain't no pity for him. I mean, this is what you sign up for, right? And he thinks he's that good, and he is that good. I do think he's a generational talent, and I look at, when I say that, if you cut on the film, remove the end results of games, and you just watch the stuff he does, I think that stuff is generational. The arm angles, the velocity, his ability to throw on the move, I think that's the stuff that's generational. The results are different because it's a team sport at the end of the day. So I don't take the results into that. You know, when I look at him as a player, I think he is a generational talent. Now, whether he will go to a system that does well for him, or if he goes to a city that embraces him, or if they've got the talent around him, because, again, you can't be Superman every week. Even Cam Newton ran out of gas at some point. Mm-hmm. I think that stuff will also determine how he does in the league. So I don't know what he'll be. But in terms of just him and his abilities, I think he is generational.
And maybe I'm just annoyed because I'm on Twitter, and every time he makes a throw, it's like the best throw ever.
He's literally a Josh Allen.
He's your Josh Allen.
Yeah, that could be it. I could just be overwhelmed by all the Caleb information on my feed. But
I get it.
That's just me.
That's right.
So they lost to Utah 34-32. This is I said it. They're going on a losing streak, and it's happening. Emmanuel Acho recently went out and said that Caleb should consider sitting the rest of the season just as a business investment in himself to avoid injury. You're not going to win the Heisman, and obviously you're not going to win the national championship. How do you guys feel about that? Breeze, I actually want to hear from you specifically because you're the college football head on the show. You're a college football purist. So how do you feel about when somebody says that who doesn't really cover the game like that? He's just he's a sports analyst, but he's not a Josh Pate. He's not. Right. He doesn't love the game of college football like some of us do.
You kind of just make my argument. That is my argument. And so for a guy like Acho, who just covers sports in general, and I don't know that he loves college football. I love the purity of college football, the pageantry, guys. I love that they're getting paid. I loved it when they were just playing for the love of the game, right? And every play mattered, every week mattered. I hate the expansion of the college football playoffs because now every week might not matter as much. Right now, it's like the NFL. You can drop a couple of games. It's like, we're still number 12. Right. We'll still get in. I really, that's probably one of the best things you said about me, that I'm a college football purist. I love what college football has always meant, and I think we're losing that. And you start having people say stuff like that, that is when you're losing elements of college football. Because there are players on that team, this is it for them.
Right.
Yeah.
And so now their season goes in the toilet because all of a sudden Caleb can't win individual awards. That's garbage. That's not what sports are about. It's about the team, right? It's about the camaraderie and the brotherhood. How can you look those guys in the face when you're perfectly healthy and say, hey, y'all, I'm going to shut it down because I'm worried about this check. Right. Bro, I don't care about your pockets. Like, bro, like all the hours we spent in the spring and the summer grinding. Yeah. 2 days, bro, when I could have been chilling and really focusing on my degree and my actual future, and now you're going to shut this down and you're going to tank our season because you're worried about the draft? That is straight garbage, and I hate to hear people on national TV saying that stuff, and I don't like that at all.
And just simply as a competitor, you would like you said, you would play for free if you're a competitor. You just want to go out there and play football. Like you've been playing football all your life. I know at some point it's going to be about business and money, but at the same time, like you said, you made a commitment to those guys before the season. And now that it's not going your way, how does that look as a leader? So, yeah, man, I think it's irresponsible, especially for someone with as big of an influence as Acho, to kind of say something when he's not around the game like that.
Couldn't agree more.
Oh, and Lincoln, he hasn't won anything.
Nope.
At Oklahoma, at USC,
conference titles. He's won some conference titles.
That don't matter. It don't matter. Is he just an offensive coordinator at this point?
that's tough for me because I feel the best offensive coordinators out there find ways to. You always talk about scheming people open.
Yeah.
Right. You have a generational talent that can honestly fit the ball anywhere he wants it to go. You've got playmakers on offense to figure certain things out where it doesn't always have to be, okay, Caleb, do it with your arm. Figure out a way to get some of these other guys. Or what's the one guy that balled out at the beginning of the year?
Zach Branch.
He just came back this week. He had a punt return for a touchdown.
There you go. So find other ways to where, okay, maybe we get him the ball and Caleb doesn't have to do these things. It feels like maybe you have this quarterback, you got this really, really good guy, and it makes you look a lot better.
But it's not about the offense with him. He doesn't care about defensive football.
Well, then that's another thing. Well, maybe in this generation where you also see guys be the CEO coach, right? Maybe he has to take a step back and be that guy.
He's Jimbo. He's a play calling coach.
That's scary. That's not going to work anymore. I don't think.
I think he needs somebody to step in and be like the director of football operations. Like, hey, bro, you want to be the head coach and you just want to call plays? That's fine because you're great at calling. I think he's a great offensive coordinator. I really do. I think he's a great play caller. But let us go make the defensive hire then. First of all, we got to get this guy Grinch up out of here, dude. He's hot trash. Do what Texas A&M essentially made Jimbo do. You got to go hire an offensive coordinator.
Right.
They went out and hired an offensive coordinator. They still got problems, but like somebody's got to step in and do that stuff. But to me, as a college coach, it is one of the hardest jobs in the country. I don't think people appreciate how hard this job is. Mm-hmm. But apparently, he doesn't engage with like staff. He doesn't go to like faculty events at times. Apparently, he was quote unquote under the weather today, so he didn't do his weekly phone call. After the game Saturday, he didn't make players available for interviews. To me, bro, it sounds like you don't want to be a college coach because all of that stuff is part of this job. And you can't just do it when things are going well. That's soft. And that's cowardice, and maybe that's why his teams are soft. And maybe that's why when they get punched in the mouth by legitimately hard-nosed teams like what Georgia did to him when he was at Oklahoma, what Bama did to him when he was at Oklahoma, maybe that's the problem. Right? Maybe his teams are just mentally soft. Because playing defense is a lot of it is mental. It takes a certain mindset to want to do it. Because let's be honest, a lot of that stuff is thankless.
Yeah.
Right? Linebacker filling the right gap and forcing the running back to bounce outside into the D end zones who was containing. That's kind of thankless. And only like the football like nerds really care about that stuff, and the scouts really care about that stuff. A lot of the stuff those guys do on defense, they don't get credit for. We just watched Penn State and Ohio State clamp each other on defense. We said it was a snooze fest. So you have to have a certain mentality to want to do that every week. And
snooze.
But you have
it was a good game though.
But not watching Penn State's offense.
That's not glamorous, right? Let's be honest. Like maybe if a corner who is just strapping a receiver or a DN, he's unblockable. But for the most part, that stuff isn't glamorous stuff.
Right.
So it takes a mentality to be instilled in a team to really play elite defense week to week.
Yeah.
And if your coach isn't demanding that and he isn't instilling that mindset, then they'll look like USC's defense.
And USC is a national brand, so I think someone will step in eventually, especially with the amount of money they're investing.
Or like the rumors is he gonna run to the NFL.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, and I guess in a weird way, to Child's point, he'll be the first one out before Franklin's out, because USC they know what they've had before.
They're like Miami.
Yeah.
So it's like, if this ain't working, man, this is LA. You're out of here,
They're
buddy.
just like Miami. And the boosters showed up and spent some bread.
I'm with you. All right. Speaking of Miami, they got a dub against Dabo and the Clemson Tigers, 28-20 in overtime. Breeze, I'm gonna give this over to you. Is this a marquee win for Crystal Ball, or just I don't want to say casual win, but a win in the right direction for this program?
I was gonna say, what's in between like marquee and casual? Whatever's in between that. It's probably what I would go with.
A program building win.
I think that's a good way to put it. It's a program building win, especially considering the circumstances. You're without your starting quarterback. You play a true freshman at quarterback. You're playing against Clemson, who statistically is a top top 10 defense in the country, right? Clemson's not Clemson.
Right.
But they're still Clemson, if that makes any sense, right? They're not winning to the way Clemson is used to winning, but they still have the talent that Clemson has. I mean, I think of the 247 composite, they were top 5, maybe number 5 in the country, as far as just like blue chip players and
especially on defense still.
Especially on defense, right? Several guys on that defense will get drafted. Nate Wiggins will probably be a first rounder. Those linebackers, I think, are
Trotter
and Bear Carter.
Yeah.
You know, both of them are NFL linebackers. The D-line, that's the position they've recruited better than anything else, that D-line. So I think getting a win like that, I think it does a lot for the program. It does a lot for Mario to kind of quiet some of the chatter, right? You know, the Georgia Tech stuff, they still were talking about that pregame, right? That's not going to go away. So, but winning a game like this, it kind of gets the taste out of the mouth a little bit. And then last week, Drake May goes off on you in the third quarter. So, you know, getting this win, I think, is good for the program's direction. And I like the way they did it. You lean on the defense. The defense showed up really, really well. You got some takeaways. You held Clemson to 20 points. And then really on offense, you dominated them in the trenches. That offensive line was dominant. I can't remember the last time I've been able to say that about a Miami offensive line since maybe like 2015-ish. We had like 3 guys that ended up going to the league on that 2015 team, and that offense scored a lot of points. We had a drive. We got the ball back with about 2 minutes left in the third quarter. We went on a 9-minute drive against a Clemson defense. Last year, they overwhelmed us in the trenches, bullied us up and down the field, both sides of the line. And so being able to do that, I think, it says a lot for Mario to be able to go out and sell the direction, because that's what Mario wants to do.
Right.
He wants to be able to, if the receivers ain't clicking or the quarterback's shaky, we're just going to pound it right at you, right? And we're going to build it from the inside out. Offensive line, we're going to invest in that. We're going to recruit that heavy. We're going to develop it like crazy. Same thing on the D-line. Ruben Bain, true freshman, goes off.
Nuts.
He, balls out. So I think this is exactly the way Mario wants to win. Obviously, he'd much rather, I'm sure, win comfortably and big and not have to go to double overtime. I think it's a really, really good win for him and something he can go sell, because I said it last week. This season is about showing progression. And being able to do that against a Clemson shows that the program is moving in the right way.
Yeah. I just thought it was interesting that they came out there with a true freshman quarterback, and you just assume, at least I would say, oh, true freshmen, they're just going to probably run the ball a lot. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure Clemson knew, well, they got a true freshman quarterback. They're going to run the ball a lot.
Sure.
And they said, yeah, and we're going to do it for 200 yards, which Clemson don't give up 200 yards.
Yeah.
They just don't. They held us to like 20-something.
Yeah, we just gave up.
We couldn't run against Clemson.
But you also could throw it very well. So.
I get that. But my point is, even still, 22 yards, right? And we have elite running backs.
Right.
You guys didn't have a quarterback, essentially. And he said, yeah, we're going to run the ball. And they did that. That was a very impressive win to me to watch.
Yeah, I agree. In trenches, that's what it was all about. 38 carries, 211 yards for Miami. 34 carries, 31 yards for Clemson. So you guys control the trenches. 5 sacks, 10 tackles for loss. You mentioned Ruben Bain. He should be a freshman All-American. He should go to the league now. He's built. He's just built different. He's a man.
Bro, it's so weird to say, and I almost don't want to say it, bro. His base is so big. Like his thighs are like tree trunks. It's kind of weird. And I know it paused. He is, bro. Like his lower half is so
lower man wins.
Big, man. Like he's only like 6'3". He's not even that. He's probably like 6'2.5".
He's girthy, huh?
I was trying to not make it weird, and you were like, "Let me go out of my way to make sure that I make it weird." I did not say that.
That's not what I said.
No, it's not. Not around my niggas, you can't.
Yeah, man, that
good win for the Canes.
The trenches is Mario's identity, and I think recruits are starting to take notice, and they're coming in. You guys are top 10 in recruiting now.
Yep, we're at number 10.
So yeah, man, this is a program building win, and
he said it so humbly too. Yep.
I mean, recruiting has actually been disappointing, but
He'll get there.
Hopefully.
Question before we move on from this game: should Dabo be fired? The boards are going crazy in South Carolina. Is he at the point where he should be fired? Because it seems like every year it just goes further downhill. And it doesn't seem like he's bringing the nose up on this ship. He called out his quarterback in the press conference. He said that last play should have been a give to the running back, and he decided to pull it and did his own thing. And he went on to say, when guys in the program don't go by, the system, things go left, something to that nature. But I think that's uncharacteristic of a head coach to call out essentially the leader of your offense, the quarterback, to the public. And I think that's just a frustration that's building up with Dabo. Like, he doesn't have nowhere else to turn or point, even though he's part of the problem. And
he is a problem.
Yeah, and I think he's just stuck in his old ways. You don't want to explore the transfer portal. You don't want to – you see where college football is going, but you're staying over here. And I think it's going to bite him in the butt, and that could be him getting fired. Do you think we're at that point?
He's gotten away with it for so long because he's been winning.
Yeah.
Like, winning cures all, right? And then all of a sudden, when you start to get exposed, and all of a sudden your personality gets exposed.
You get backed into a corner.
Yeah, well, and again, we've always known that Dabo's a dick. I don't think that's ever been up for debate. He's been that way ever since he's been at Clemson.
Yeah.
But you're winning, and you have generational quarterbacks.
Yeah.
So that masks a lot of stuff.
Right.
And all of a sudden, once that's wiped away and we see who you really are, can you really, really, really coach and make sure this program stays on that level? Now all of a sudden that era and that mystique starts to go away. You might be the next thing that goes away.
Yeah.
I'm cool with him getting fired, by the way.
He's a heel. I think they might fire him, but I'm gonna say the same thing I said about him as Penn State. What is Clemson football before Dabo? Clemson
Tommy Bowden
used to schedule Clemson for your homecoming games.
Yeah.
So
They're
they
always
should
a
be
competitive team, but not what they are. Yeah.
They should be happy they've gotten what they've gotten.
I think Clemson fans now think they're the Bamas of the world, where they're entitled now. So people forget where they come from sometimes. I think that's a lot of Clemson fans.
You can find out real quick,
man. Trust me, because we felt that way. Where at those latter ends where Bobby wasn't winning,
the logo is bigger than any one person.
We had Jimbo Fisher at least waiting.
Yeah,
they had Brett Venables, and now he's gone.
He held it at bay for a minute.
He held it at bay, right? He held it
point.
at bay, won a natty, cool. But if Brett was still there, okay, maybe. But to your point, when you're asking about when you get rid of Lincoln Riley or Franklin, well, who are you gonna go get?
Right.
And
they should be happy they got them two natties. Clemson is not a football program. Well, until Dabo came along and built it to that, they were never that. So
not a huge.
No,
yeah.
I mean
they're not a staple.
No. They had a good time back in 1980 was the last time they won one or something before.
Maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Like the fridge was there.
I mean, Clemson football is like Colorado football. Like, they won one in the 90s, but it's like...
Was that Cordell Stewart?
It was Cordell Stewart. They had two wide receivers that went bonkers. But that's Clemson football. Like, you're not a blue blood. You're not but Dabo got you to that level and made you feel like you were that. And then if he can't sustain it, the clock can strike 12 and you turn back into a pumpkin real quick.
Honeymoon's over.
It can happen. So
you're firing him?
No.
All right.
Because I'm gonna go get who?
Oh, I'm firing off GP. Get him out of here.
Hey, listen, if he's going to continue to be like this and it's going to continue to make them a bad program, keep him. We got to go up there next year.
I seen on their messenger board Mike Elko from Duke.
I don't want that to happen because I think Elko's good. I'm hoping Michigan State comes calling.
I'm okay with that. Yeah, get him out of the ACC.
Let him go to Michigan State and muck it up there.
I'm cool with that too.
And be the third best team.
Speaking of Duke and Mike Elko, they came into the Doak and kind of scared. What's that pinky meme? I was scared. Had me scared for a minute. They scared Florida State for about 3 quarters, and Florida State ended up coming back, winning 38-20. There's a lot to take away from this game, but I want to address the haters out there for a second, because I see on Twitter that there was a lot of people saying if it wasn't for Riley Leonard getting hurt, this game would have been different. Florida State would have probably lost this game if Riley Leonard played the entire game. First of all, shout out to the kid for giving it the effort. He was playing on one leg essentially to begin with, so he wasn't healthy anyways. But while he was playing, he went 7 of 16, 69 yards and one interception. He didn't account for any touchdowns. They had a great game plan. They came in and just ran the ball down our throats. We couldn't stop them. There was a lot of holding, but we talked about it. It's the ACC refs. They had a great game plan to kind of control the ground and run the ball and, eat up clock. But for people to say if Riley Leonard was in there, it would have been a different kind of game. I don't agree with that. I think we just found ways to win. Keon didn't have a good game. He had 2 catches. Johnny was out the game. We couldn't get a running game to sustain us.
Jordan didn't want to run. Until
but
it mattered. Yeah.
I think Florida State, at this point in the season, there's a different way to win games with this team.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Again, I look at that and, people who are, feeling that if Riley Leonard was there, Duke's offense scored 13 points.
Defense scored a touchdown. Things were happening in that game that were the recipe for an upset, right? So they get the defensive touchdown. Norvell makes, in my mind, at least one bonehead call to go for it on 4th down in your own. Why? He's got to stop that.
So that's just giving away 3 points. So you gave away 3 points right there. If we punt that ball away, who's to say the defense doesn't get a 3 and out and all of a sudden those 3 points off the board? Now all of a sudden that offense only scores 10 points. They were doing what they wanted to do in the trenches, but at some point it started to wear down. To me, I feel like they have really good talent up front. Duke does on both sides of the ball. That offensive line is actually really good.
Yeah.
Their defensive line is. They got this. Not your daddy's Duke team. Their secondary is good, right? Yeah. So at that point, again, talent ended up winning out at the end. That game was closer than I wanted to be, and I kept the whole time. I ain't gonna lie to you. I kept thinking about Breeze, and I'm like, this fool's over here. Why are we even talking about this game? This is not gonna even be close. I'm like,
all right,
Duke is actually good. Are they really better than Florida State? No, it's not what I said. But again, the things that were happening in that game were like, oh man, this is the recipe for disaster. It's happening. So
Duke is a frustrating team to play. But the reason why I didn't think this would be a game is because, like I said before, at some point the talent disparity will show itself. And I think that happened. Right? For the people who are saying, oh, if Riley Leonard finished the game, well, if my uncle could have kids, he'd be my auntie.
True.
So
shout out Braden Fisk, MVP.
So, I mean, who knows what would have happened, right? Maybe Florida State's offense still just starts clicking and they just start dominating. You don't know. So we can't say, well, if this happened, if it came down to one play, maybe.
Right.
You can't say that with a quarter plus of football left to go and say, well, if he doesn't get hurt, they don't win. Because here's the other thing. I think people are looking at Duke and they're saying, okay, Duke is winning games. And obviously you look at Riley Leonard. This kind of is who Riley Leonard is.
He's not that good of a thrower.
He's not slinging the pill around. He's not. So this idea that, Riley Leonard's going to come up here and carve somebody up with his legs maybe, but he's not throwing the football around the field like that. So, I did not think that Duke was going to be able to win that game. And I'm not surprised that, it took 3 quarters because they are a sound team. Mm-hmm. They really don't beat themselves. They're strong in the trenches. They want to win games the old-fashioned way. Yep. But eventually, most times, the talent disparity will start to show itself. And I think that's what happened in this game, which you guys have done to multiple teams now. So I'm not surprised it went that way. And I'm looking at it. I mean, we were in the stadium, and they show, the ticker. They show all the other, games. I'm like, oh, Duke's still in it. Okay. Call me back when there's 5 minutes left.
Yeah. It was a competitive game for 3 quarters, but you could see the fatigue start to kick in for Duke. They have good first-level player, but now
no doubt.
Mike has built up a team where you got first-level, third-level guys now, second-level guys now that could step in and spell Jared Verge.
Those guys coming in on special teams.
Shout out to Lakewood. Shout out to Deuce.
Oh, Deuce.
Deuce finally got him one. And I think the backbreaker was that 97-yard drive. After we stopped them on the 4th down, they should have just took the 3 points.
Yep.
We stopped them inside our own end on 4th and 3. Then we ended up stopping them again, and then we went on a 97-yard drive, and I think that just took the wind out. And then we got 2 garbage minute touchdowns.
And to me, just like to finish it off, like that drive is sometimes what makes me happy and also frustrates me.
Like we could do it.
No, specifically with Jordan Travis. It seems like when it matters, Jordan says, you know what? They really can't stop us if I use my legs as a weapon.
Yeah, that pisses me off.
Right? Like he only seems to do it when, okay, I actually need to take over this game. And that drive, he did everything on that game, on that drive.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like when you make yourself a threat, what are you going to do at Florida State? Get it to my tight ends, get it to my big wide receivers. I got a home run threat here. I got 3 good running backs. And if I decide to just run it, and now all of a sudden, what are you going to do? You can't blitz. What do you want to do? Pick your poison. And it seems like he has to wait until the 3rd or 4th quarter to do that consistently.
Is he trying to protect himself or something?
I think that's part
maybe.
of it.
Yeah. Trying to just make sure he stays healthy for the whole season?
Maybe, but it's like, just, you know what? You can protect yourself if you just do that in the 1st quarter and get the hell out of here in the 3rd, like you did against Southern Mississippi.
Slide. Protect yourself by sliding.
And also stop sliding when the defense is 10 yards away, Jordan.
When Jordan Travis run, good things happen. That's
True.
all. Yeah.
True indeed.
Part of college football.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else on college football before we get out of here?
It's almost over, and I love it. I'm gonna miss it so much when it's gone.
Only other thing is I told you about Bama.
I'm not worried about it.
I'm not.
I'm not worried about it.
I told you. I mean, that's fine. Don't be worried.
What specifically about Bama?
They're probably going to win out.
Oh, okay. I mean,
Do they play LSU?
They still got to play LSU.
They'll lose.
Okay.
no.
Okay.
That LSU defense will make Jalen Milroe look like a.
Do you see Bama?
What did I say?
Do you see Bama scoring 40 points?
What did I say? Week
Against
3.
that-
They won't have to.
against that
They will.
LSU team?
Remember this conversation. Remember I told you
They
week 3 that they probably weren't gonna lose another
they're
game.
not gonna score 40.
They'll have to at least score 30 points to win.
And is that hard against
With this Bama
LSU?
team, it is.
against LSU? Because
That LSU
Okay.
defense ain't good.
this week
And Bama didn't put up 13 against USF.
keep going back to that one game
I'm saying
when they did not have their starting
Let's
quarterback.
look at their schedule then. What other?
You look at the
games?
schedule because they put up 34 against Tennessee.
Sure. They put up 24 against Arkansas.
Okay.
26 against Texas A&M.
What game was that Milroe didn't start?
USF, which is what
that the
everybody
USF
keeps
game?
going back to.
I
We're
just gave you
ignoring
2
all the
games
other
under
wins.
30 points.
Okay, which again, but they have scored. They've shown the ability to put up 30 plus points.
Yeah, I don't think that LSU
Don't
game
get in the
is gonna be
shootout
that-
with LSU.
Yeah,
I don't
get in
think
the
they
shootout.
will. That defense will not, bro. That defense is good, man. That defense is, and it's getting better.
Like, to me, it's going to be interesting because to me, LSU's defense is garbage, but I think that they're extremely talented
They
on
got
offense.
3 good receivers. I don't see 3
do.
good corners on
Yeah,
Alabama.
Bama's
Kool-Aid-
defense is good. I don't
Kool-Aid
think their
is good.
offense is that great.
okay,
I really don't.
hey, just,
It wouldn't shock me if they lost that game in a close one.
no. Hey, listen, if Bama loses that game, I won't be floored. But I very well can make an argument of why they will win and win out.
All right, we'll see.
Bro, Bama maybe not be the dominant force, the unstoppable force that we're used to them being.
Again, we always
are
say they still
a-
have tons of
They're
talent.
still a great team.
All right. In other news,
They ain't Clemson. Let's say that.
North Carolina got upset by Virginia. Shout out to Calandria Lakewood.
He didn't
Lakewood.
play.
He didn't play?
No, he's been benched. They're playing.
Oh, they benched him.
Is it Musket?
Why? Because he's
Never
out there
mind.
just slinging that pill and
Man,
don't
turning
care.
it over like crazy.
Man,
Yeah.
slang that thing, man.
North Carolina won their Super Bowl last week, and that's what happened. Miami is their Super Bowl. I don't know why they hate us so much, bro. But we are their
Miami.
Super Bowl. I guess I don't know what we ever did to North Carolina, but okay.
There was another shocker
Yeah, there was another upset. It was
or near upset. Oklahoma and
UCF.
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 That came down to the wire.
And Washington only scored 15 points against Arizona State.
yeah. That was some close.
Just funny note, Dillingham said that he put an open invite out to any student on the campus who is 330 pounds
seen
or
that.
better.
Yeah, I seen that.
Because they can't field a field goal kicking unit. He said, if you are 330 plus, contact me.
Hey, man, look, this is the scores and the things that we've been talking about, honestly, over the past 7-8 weeks, is why when you ask that question, the only one team that looks like they are just flat out
Michigan.
dominant, right? Even the teams that they're supposed to beat Washington was supposed to win that game handily, in my opinion, but they didn't, and they just Breeze. I know, getting kids up every week, cool. Only one team in the country has done that consistently, and it's Michigan.
No, you are right. Oh, and Texas almost lost to Houston. They only beat Houston by 1 touchdown. But
Which
Quinn Ewers
I watched that
now.
game. They cheated. They cheated Houston.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was controversial then.
Yeah.
And now they're without Quinn Ewers. He's going to miss at least a few weeks. Malik Murphy.
Well, you said good quarterback room.
3 good quarterbacks.
You gonna see. Apparently, they're splitting snaps this week. Him and Arch. So I'm pretty sure they'll probably start Malik next week.
They should.
But it's gonna be interesting.
All right, that's it for college football. Any interesting game we're looking forward to next week?
That's all.
I see Utah, Oregon. That's about it.
You got Utah, Oregon. There's some other games. You just got to dig a little bit deeper.
Watch out for Florida against Georgia.
There's some other games
without
out there.
your boy at tight end.
You got to dig a little deeper. There's some games though.
I know you're gonna pull something out the hat.
Come on, man. You know me.
Right.
You know me. I've already got my games listed out.
Of course he
I'm
does.
ready to go.
I'm pretty sure
We got to find you a nickname for that because you Cocktober Breeze.
Bro, that's it. Man, Cocktober's done. They lost. They got drubbed by Missouri.
We're still in October.
Nah, bro. They got drubbed. Cocktober is supposed to be when they... So part of where it comes from is that, like, a couple of years, they, like, went on, like, a run in October. Like, they just, like, for whatever reason... Like, last year it happened. Like, they just, like, flipped the switch in October. And, like, remember they started, like...
balling,
they started beating a bunch of random teams.
Oh,
They beat Tennessee and they beat Florida. And it was like, oh, snap. But they've done it, like, before as well. And they call it Cocktober.
Keep it.
Gay.
Go Gamecocks.
Keep it.
Hey, man. Yeah, Cocktober's dead, bro. They're getting waxed.
Okay.
Nothing.
So
Done.
All right, that's it for college football. Shout out to Cocktober. It's almost over.
shout out to the Lakers.
Go Lakes.
NBA's back
And
tomorrow.
Mapes.
Oh, you beat the Lightning this week. We are struggling without Vazzy. We got to score 5 goals a game, man.
When is he coming back?
He's out for a couple months. So we are digging a little hole.
I seen the number 1 draft pick got his first goal.
At home. That was his first goal at home. He already been
Yeah,
here.
he had
for-
scored.
Yeah,
Week
man.
2, game 2. He scored his first one. Yeah.
He's fun to watch. Blackhawks are still trash, but he's fun to watch.
Well, we knew that would be good.
Yeah, I'm cool with it. Building
All right.
for the future.
There you go.
It's been another week of the Somebody Said podcast, sponsored by Lipton Tea, where it'll knock out a headache, fix you up right.
It cures cancer, man.
That might
Cures
be the
cancer.
title.
It should be.
Get you some Lipton.
Get out
Some
of here,
Lipton,
bro.
that's all you need.
Get out of
Shout
here.
out to
Miss Peanut.
Miss
Miss
Peanuts, Red Lady, and Windows the Wall. I'm your host, Unc. Man to my right is Pump,
Yes, sir.
Mr. 2-Bite Breeze, Pac-12 Breeze, Cocktober Breeze. To my left,
there's
he's
more.
out.
Yeah.